My name is Tiffany Thompson, and I'm a pediatric occupational therapist with Progressive Pediatric Therapy. And I'm giving this talk about life skills for preteens and teens. And I want everyone to understand and have a bit of a frame of reference of where I'm coming from. So, one of my favorite things, one of my favorite parts of my job is helping developmentally disabled preteens and teens learn life skills. And so I'm coming from a place where I work with people with developmental disabilities and physical disabilities that need accommodations in order to learn how to do what we might think of as common sense or basic life skills. But they just need support in different ways or accommodations in different ways in order to be able to participate fully in their life. So I want you to understand that I'm coming from a place where, as occupational therapists, we look at the skills that are important to the family for the child to learn, and we take those skills and we break them down and we try to find ways to help the child learn them. Okay, so often we work together as teams because coming up with creative ways to teach these things is always fun. But I'm going to be talking to you about the areas that we often pull from in order to help our developmentally disabled population learn life skills. All right. But these life skills are really life skills that everybody needs to know. All right. So it's going to be like from the very basic to even bigger, grander ideas, because families are coming to watch and are seeing they may already do some of these things. So I'd also like to provide some larger ideas beyond just the basics. All right. So one of the places that I think is extremely important to teach life skills that you can start with young children is getting them involved in the kitchen and getting them involved in food and preparing food. And so what's really important is we need to remember kitchen safety because we are working with hot items. So you need to make sure to educate your children, even from a young age, but really your preteens and your teens should have basic safety education in the kitchen about knife safety and sharp objects and heat and how to protect themselves against the heat, and using pot holders, wearing footwear, to guard against, hot spills, all those things. And all of these things can easily be found all over the internet. So knife skills, safety skills, kitchen safety. It's also extremely important for when you are teaching kids, teens, and preteens to work in the kitchen, to give them understanding of what to do in an emergency, how to handle different types of fires, okay, how to get help if there is a fire, okay. You also need to help them understand how to manage basic first aid type things, like what to do if they have a burn or a cut. So those are all things we need to think about in that kitchen safety realm before we even start cooking. But the thing about working in the kitchen, especially with cooking, is that it helps to teach following directions, and it helps to teach listening skills, because when you're working in the kitchen with your children, they have to listen, they have to follow directions, or else even just following a recipe is following a written instruction, right? So it really helps to solidify those skills. Every person should know how to safely boil water in order to make hard-boiled eggs or to boil pasta. Those are like basic skills. And you can go beyond that to think about like even, frying an egg, because if you can do these basic skills, if you can make a grilled cheese sandwich on a saute pan, all these skills will help you always really be able to eat. And there are plenty of appliances. So when you're thinking about a neurotypical or a typical teen or preteen, you can go as big and grandiose with teaching food skills as you want. But when you have a child who may have developmental disabilities, you can think about using other appliances in the kitchen, like the microwave, and you still need to teach safety with the microwave, or using a toaster, all those things as well. So when we're talking about like kitchen skills. Everybody needs kitchen skills. Everybody needs safety skills in the kitchen. Everybody should learn how to do really basic minimum type cooking skills because they'll always be able to feed themselves. We also have to think about like meal planning and how, because this goes into that area of like being able to go out into the world and to make a grocery list or to plan for a recipe. So we should really be getting our kids involved in that component as well, because going out into the world or doing some sort of shopping online helps us learn about money and interactions, social interactions within our environment as well. So all of these things start to cross over into the next area of life skills, because if you are having your child, I always recommend, and with my own developmentally disabled young adult who lives in our house, my stepdaughter Paola, she has a night each week that she plans a meal. She will tell me what she needs. I write it on my grocery list. She goes through the planning process. Every kid could do that. And if you have more than one, then you've got dinner covered for more than one night a week, right? So having them plan it out, having them write down the list, having them determine what they need in order to make those meals, that's a basic skill, because now they need to go out into the environment and shop for it. So teaching them to go into that environment and do that is also super important. All right, segue from this. When you are planning for things, also it's important to have your kids be able to plan for the hygiene products they need, because nobody really wants to run out of deodorant and be stinky, right? And one of my least favorite things in the world is when my stepdaughter's like, oh my God, I don't have any pads. And I'm like, okay, now I need to go to the store right now. So it's really important to help them learn that they should monitor the supplies in the house, cleaning supplies, food supplies, hygiene supplies, and that especially their own things that they need. If they need more face wash, they should be monitoring that, because as adults, we're already monitoring everything else. They should be able to monitor those things and let you know. I'm always like, text me when you realize you're running out of pads, text me. When you realize you're running out of body wash, text me. So that's another important part, another important life skill, being able to understand that. So when we move into the other part of going, you're planning the things you need to shop for, going out into the world and shopping is another component, right? Because it involves money, right? So money management skills, financial planning, those things are extremely important to bring in and teach to kids, all right? I can talk so in depth about each one of these things. I could do a talk on each one, but I'm just doing a general overview right now. So when it comes to money, it is super important for kids to be able to understand how to use cash and coins, how to understand how to use a credit card. So you want to be giving them opportunities to do this in stores, okay? You want to help them understand and identify the coins and the bills, which we're hoping that they're learning like in their schooling and in their education, but you also want to reinforce it, all right? But on a grander scale, you also want to talk about money as a resource. How does it get there? What do we do to get it? And so we work, we earn money. Where does it go? How does it come to us? And we also want to help them understand that it's a finite resource. So money doesn't, like you're scanning this card, but it's coming from a place. So I really recommend letting your teens and your preteens see your bank accounts. Like when you're working on online banking, let them be part of this. Help them understand what's happening here. And these are the things that the money is coming out. Help them understand these things. Talk about it. It is not taboo to talk about money. You don't have to share money troubles with your kids, but you have to, it is our responsibility to help them understand it. Okay. So when we can share our bank account, our banking, teach them how to understand about that banking component. All right. Now, this also segues into helping them understand what we spend money on. All right. So many kids really don't understand what we're spending our money on. We're spending our money on living expenses, our houses, our mortgages, our rents, our electric bills. We're paying for different types of insurance. We're paying, like you want to have a car, then you even have to add more expenses. Help them understand where that money goes. All right? Because that will help them understand about budgeting. All right. So budgeting is hard. None of us like to do it, but it is important to help our kids understand this, because nobody wants their kid to go out into the world and rack up $20,000 in credit card debt. That stinks. Okay. So teaching them about budgeting and what people spend their money on is really important. And I break these things down with my own clients. So when you're teaching kids about what we spend money on, it's also a really great idea to teach them how to pay a bill, how to make a phone call to pay a bill, how to make a bill payment on the computer. That is an excellent way to kind of help segue into learning that particular skill, right? Even when you're writing out bills, if you're writing, classic writing a check, talk about that. I know that it seems inane, but they don't know unless they see us doing it and we talk about it, right? So I didn't say at the beginning, life skills are so empowering, all right? So by teaching our kids these things, we are empowering them, right? So let them see you pay bills online. Let them do it. Teach them how to do it, right? Make a phone call to pay a bill. Let them make another segue into another part of life skills, right? Let them make a phone call to tech support. Let them make a phone call to pay a bill. Teach them phone skills, all right? Because our kids all, our preteens and teens, they all have these phones and they are like, what? When they answer the phone. Teach them how to use a phone. Teach them etiquette on how to use a phone. It is important because if you can handle a phone call, it's an important social skill, all right? So give them that opportunity. Sit there with them on a speaker call, teach them the proper way to engage on a phone, even if they're just calling grandma to practice, right? Teach them phone etiquette. Teach them how to make a phone call. Then teach them how to place orders for food, for delivery, pickup, whatever, calling restaurants to order food. Teach them to be able to call and get their own prescriptions from the pharmacy or to do it online. However, those are both options to speak to another person for a necessity, okay? Also important in that, my brain just fluttered away, is making doctor's appointments. Yes, kids keep track of all, we keep track of so many things for our kids. Teach them to keep track of their doctor's appointments. Our 15 and 16-year-olds, our girls who go to the OBGYN for the first time, all of those things, we can absolutely teach them to keep them in their calendars and to teach them to make phone calls to actually make those appointments, okay? And to be in charge and accountable for those things. Because when they go to college, they are going to have to do it. What if they're sick? How are they going to handle it? So making phone calls, handling phone etiquette, being able to utilize those skills in different areas. All right, I made lots of notes. All right. Okay, so another part about life skills that's really important and is teaching them about relationships. And I don't want you to all be like, oh, think about your closest friends and the people in your life that you're closest to and why they're there. Teach your kid how to be a good friend, okay? Teach your kid how to be a good friend so that they can also recognize what's not good in the people who are in their life that say that they're their friends, okay? Because ultimately, we want our children to be successful and happy, okay? So we really have to make sure to teach them how to be a good friend. And I understand that ultimately we all have different relationships and we all have different feelings about people in our lives. But you need to look at what's important to you and what makes your friends good friends to you and what makes you a good friend to them. And it is a bit subjective. Yes, there are definitely things about being friends that are important and necessary, loyalty, trust, those kinds of things. But we also have our own preferences about things. So I don't want to impose on you what my preferences are. But teach your children about that. Teach them how to recognize bad components that mean someone is not their friend, or help them understand when they are being passive aggressively bullied or any of those things, because we really want our children to grow up and feel good about themselves. And if they can recognize those things, they can push those people out of their lives and they can bring people in who make them feel good and lift them up. That is what we want for our children. Also teach your children about romantic relationships. Okay. Yes, in an ideal, perfect world, we'd all be modeling perfect, ideal romantic relationships for our kids. But it doesn't always happen that way, and it's understandable. We really, really, really need to teach our children how to be a good partner, how to be a good romantic partner. Okay. And I mean that in like, you know, not just about teaching, you know, to open doors. Like being a gentleman is wonderful. Teach them how to be a gentleman if you have sons, but also about how to be kind and how to help your partner feel good, as opposed to other negative things that might come out in relationships. Help them understand that how relationships work. And of course, I'm going to mention this because it is actually a question on our normative tests that we use about life skills. Find the important things that are the things that are important to you, and teach your kids about how to be safe in the world sexually. Okay, that's the last thing I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to impose anything on you. It is actually a question on our tests, so it's something that we actually talk to our parents about and talk to our clients about if they want us to help them. And sometimes our clients are young adults, because let's face it, I want my stepdaughter to be able to love someone and be loved for who she is when she's ready for that, if that's what she wants. So I want to make sure that I can help her do that, because that's what makes our lives rich, right? And I also am afraid of that because there's so many things about it that make me scared, but I also want her to have a full and valid life. So make sure we teach our kids about that as well. What else could I talk about? I have not seen any comments or anything, so I don't know if anyone's asking me any questions. I'm happy to review anything. If there's something that somebody would like me to come talk about again later, I would love to. I'm just gonna think through my brain and see about anything. Oh, yes, I thought about this too. Let us, especially as somebody who works with the disabled population, okay? We have to, everybody wants their kid to like go to college and have this awesome job and be a doctor or be a lawyer. And not everybody can do that, okay? We have got to help our kids understand, have awareness about what their skills are, what they're good at, and help them make choices about their life. Normalize trade school. Like, let us help our children find paths in life that are the best for them, okay? Let us help them be aware of what they're good at. Let us help them find the things that they do want to do. What do they want to do? Does your kid want to be a barber? Cool. Help them figure out how to do it. Does your kid want to be an engineer? Cool. Help them figure out how to do it. There are so many options out there, and we can get out of that idea about just focusing on college and help our kids find what they can do. So as OTs, we actually will, look at career profiles and do different things with our kids and help them try to find things, because we're talking about the disabled population. It's really hard for them sometimes to find jobs without support. So we help them look at their skills, we help them look at what they enjoy, and we look at these career profiles, which you can find on the internet, to try to help guiding them toward what are the skills we need in order to be a barista. Okay, what are the skills we need in order to work in a library? And then when you've done that with your children and you try to guide them and help support them where to go, you can help teach them the skills that help practice those skills that they might need for those things, or provide the support. Teach them how to code, do the different things, whatever they're kind of going towards as a teenager. You can help guide them. Okay, that was another thing. When you're thinking about job skills, teach your kids how to use PowerPoint. Teach your kids how to use things that might help them in the job setting. Help them understand the relationship between a worker and a boss, so that we can help our kids kind of learn how to have that interaction. Teach them about how to dress professionally. I went to my first job interview wearing like a shirt with no sleeves. All right. And when I saw my report card that said that I wasn't dressed professionally, I didn't understand it because nobody ever taught me that. So let's teach them about those things and teach them skills that they can use. Help them use their amazing tech skills to actually be able to maybe filter it into job skills. Okay. Um, I am going to start wrapping it up, but let's see if there's anything anyone wants to hear about. I can share some resources in the talk later, or post them later on PPT on our Facebook page, that will talk about maybe some options for, modifications for starting to teach kitchen skills and knives, like using silicone knives. I can share some really awesome financial planning websites that teach kids about how to save money and about money itself, through practical money skills. I can share some different things if anyone's interested. Thank you so much, guys. I could really sit here and talk all day long. But I'm going to sign off now. And hopefully I'll see you guys again soon. Once again, if there's anything you want me to come back and talk about more in depth, to share any kind of resources, please leave it in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you.